ภาษาอังกฤษพิชิตอาเซียน
English for the People of ASEAN
ให้เสียงโดยอาจารย์ดรธนพลลำดวนจากใจดีและ
อาจารย์มาร์คกาย
and Jay Wisecarver.
อาจารย์ Tess Imperial
บทที่
Chapter 2 General Conversations about ASEAN.
1. Do you know what ASEAN means?
Of course I know. It stands for the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, which comprises 10 countries, namely Thailand, the Philippines, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Brunei, Vietnam, Laos, Myanmar, and Cambodia.
2. When was ASEAN founded?
It was founded on 8 August 1967 with the signing of the Bangkok Declaration by Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand. The 5 founding countries were represented by Adam Malik, Presidium Minister for Political Affairs and Minister for Foreign Affairs of Indonesia, Tun Abdul Razak, Deputy Prime Minister, Minister for Defense and Minister for National Development of Malaysia, Narcisco Ramos, Secretary of Foreign Affairs of the Philippines, S. Rajaratnam, Minister for Foreign Affairs of Singapore, and Tanat Koman, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Thailand.
3. When did the other members join the association?
The other 5 members joined the association on the following dates. Brunei joined ASEAN on 7 January 1984, 6 days after its independence from the United Kingdom. Vietnam became a member on 28 July 1995. Laos and Myanmar were admitted on the same date, 23 July 1997, while Cambodia became a member on 30 April 1999.
4. Can you tell me what the aims and purposes for the association are?
Of course, why not? As set out in the ASEAN Declaration, the aims and purposes of ASEAN are: number 1, to accelerate the economic growth, social progress, and cultural development. Number 2, to promote regional peace and stability. Number 3, to promote active collaboration and mutual assistance on matters of common interest in the economic, social, cultural, technical, scientific, and administrative fields. Number 4, to provide assistance in training and research. Number 5, to collaborate in agriculture and industries, trade, transportation, and communications, and the improvement of the living standards of their peoples. Number 6, to promote Southeast Asian studies, and number 7, to maintain cooperation with regional and international organizations.
5. How many articles are there in the ASEAN Charter, and what is their significance?
There are 13 chapters altogether, with 55 articles and 4 annexes in the ASEAN Charter. It is significant because it represents a momentous occasion for ASEAN member states to reiterate their commitment to community building in ASEAN. It was signed by leaders of 10 ASEAN member countries on 20 November 2007 at the 13th ASEAN Summit in Singapore.
6. What is the motto of ASEAN?
It is one vision, one identity, one community. What else do you want to know about ASEAN?
7. Please tell me what the ASEAN flag and emblem signify.
Well, ASEAN's emblem is right in the center of the ASEAN flag. The flag itself represents a stable, peaceful, united, and dynamic ASEAN, while colors in the flag represent the main colors of the flags of all the ASEAN countries. The blue represents peace and stability. Red depicts courage and dynamism. White shows purity. And yellow symbolizes prosperity. At the same time, in the emblem itself, you will see 10 stalks of paddy, which represents the dream of ASEAN's founding fathers for an ASEAN comprising all the 10 countries in Southeast Asia bound together in friendship and solidarity. The circle represents the unity of ASEAN.
8. What is ASEAN's working language?
As you know, each country has its own national language, so it is not possible to select any language from its members to be a working language. As a result, ASEAN has to conduct its meetings, formulate its correspondence, record its proceedings and decisions, issue its statements, and undertake its other interactions in English.
9. Do you hold an ASEAN Day celebration? If so, how is it significant?
Of course, 8 August is observed as ASEAN Day, which commemorates the day the ASEAN Declaration was signed in Bangkok in 1967. The observance of ASEAN Day on every 8th day of August in all ASEAN countries will significantly increase awareness and consciousness of ASEAN. Above all, it will encourage the sentiment of think, feel, and act ASEAN. On this auspicious occasion, ASEAN flags will be flown at all ASEAN member states' diplomatic and consular missions in all ASEAN countries.
10. How is the ASEAN Secretary General appointed, and how long does he or she hold the office?
Well, Article 11 of the ASEAN Charter states that the ASEAN Secretary General shall be appointed by the ASEAN Summit for a non-renewable term of office of 5 years, selected from among nationals of the ASEAN member states based on alphabetical rotation. Due consideration is given to integrity, capability, and professional experience, and gender equality. The incumbent Secretary General of ASEAN is Mr. Le Duong Minh of Vietnam. He takes the helm from Mr. Surin Pitsuwan of Thailand, whose 5-year term expired at the end of 2012.
11. And how is the ASEAN chairmanship determined?
Again, I need to mention the ASEAN Charter. It states that the chairmanship of ASEAN shall rotate annually, based on the alphabetical order of the English names of member states. So in each calendar year, 1 January to 31 December, ASEAN has a single chairperson so chosen.
12. Recently, I heard people talking a lot about the AEC. Can you tell me what the AEC means and how it's important?
That's a very interesting question. First, you have to know that AEC stands for the ASEAN Economic Community, which is one of the 3 pillars of the ASEAN community, while another 2 are the ASEAN Political Security Community, APSC, and the ASEAN Social Cultural Community, ASCC. It is important because the AEC will transform ASEAN into a region with free movement of goods, services, investment, skilled labor, and capital.
13. I'm confused between the ASEAN Community and the ASEAN Economic Community, AEC. Can you tell me their differences?
Okay, as I said earlier, the AEC is one of the pillars of the ASEAN community, so they are different in scope but similar in content.
14. When will the AEC come into effect, and what are its key characteristics?
Well, the ASEAN leaders wanted the AEC to be implemented by 2015 in accordance with the Cebu Declaration signed in January 2007. The AEC's key characteristics are A. A single market and production base, B. A highly competitive economic region, C. A region of equitable economic development, and D. A region fully integrated into the global economy, similar to the way the European Community, EU, is.
15. What is the full meaning of the MRAs?
In fact, MRAs is the abbreviation for the Mutual Recognition Agreements of ASEAN countries, which agreed that in 2015, 8 professions in the labor market will be freed up. The 8 are 1. Doctors, 2. Dentists, 3. Nurses, 4. Engineers, 5. Architects, 6. Surveyors, 7. Tour guides, and 8 accountants.
16. By the way, do you know where the ASEAN Secretariat is located?
Not in Thailand, of course. It's in Jakarta of Indonesia. It was established in 1976, 9 years after the organization was founded.
17. Do you think English is important for the people of ASEAN?
Absolutely. With the setting up of the ASEAN Economic Community, AEC, in 2015, English will be used as the common language since there will then be greater movement of manpower around the region. So if you still have a poor command of English, start learning it today. Otherwise, you will lose a good chance to get the job you want. Language skills are essential for workers in the tourism and service sectors. So far, Thailand has, throughout its educational system, not given enough attention to improving English skills. Now it's in a rather weak position vis-a-vis countries like Vietnam and Cambodia.
18. What are the strengths of Thailand in the ASEAN grouping?
Actually, Thailand has many, especially with respect to 1. A famously service-minded culture. 2. A strong reputation for taking care of international and regional visitors. 3. A visitor experience that is exotic, welcoming, relaxing, and fun. 4. Great value with excellent return on investment. And 5. Continued investment in infrastructure projects.
19. Do you think the AEC will affect Thai people badly?
No, I don't. Although the launch of the ASEAN Economic Community in 2015 will see a free flow of professionals and skilled workers among the 10 member states in the group, on the contrary, if we prepare thoroughly, we may find increased opportunities in this region. In fact, Thailand has advantages over other ASEAN countries with respect to geographical location, infrastructure, weather, and the friendliness of its people. Since Thailand is already a popular tourist destination, the number of tourists coming to Thailand should soon be quite large. Even though English is a major problem for us, we can improve it. Possibly this book will help them a lot.
20. Do you think labor-intensive companies should be relocated to neighboring countries?
I think that would be a good idea. SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises, especially should relocate to countries where wages are lower than in Thailand. Otherwise, they wouldn't survive in Thailand's competitive environment. At the moment, small companies here have to rely on foreign laborers who agree to accept low pay and poor working conditions. But what would happen if those workers returned to their respective countries? Who would replace them? As you know, Thai workers are very selective about the jobs they accept, especially in the fishery and construction fields.
21. After all ASEAN countries have opened up in 2015, what will happen to the labour markets in Thailand and the other ASEAN countries?
Once the AEC is formed, Thais will be able to look for work outside the region, but they will have to brace themselves for challenges from regional competitors for positions in multinational organizations based in Thailand or other ASEAN countries. People from other Southeast Asian countries will compete with Thais for jobs here. So Thais must sharpen their English and other skills related to the jobs they want. It is not too late if we begin today, but we cannot stay idle any longer.
22. Speaking of the upcoming AEC, many people say that Thais rank behind many of their ASEAN counterparts, especially in the fields of language and learning abilities. Do you think so?
Some people said so. We have to accept the fact that English skills are not a competitive advantage for Thais. As you know, countries such as Singapore, the Philippines, and Myanmar hold an edge over us. But for countries like Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia, their citizens are more enthusiastic to learn languages and other skills than are Thais, who waste their time on social networking and entertainment. They read very few books a year, while their ASEAN counterparts read 10 or 20. I think Thais are going to rank behind the latter three as well.
23. Will the AEC affect the foreign direct investment, FDI, to Thailand? Will the incentives offered by the Board of Investment, BOI, be attractive enough to woo foreign investors?
To be frank, I am not an expert in the field, but I am of the opinion that countries that can offer lower labor costs as an advantage will lure investors away from Thailand. Therefore, Thailand has to upgrade its workforce skills in all sectors, especially in service and the industrial sectors, which are strong points of this country. If we can provide technicians and a highly skilled workforce, foreign investors will naturally come to Thailand, even if they receive the existing incentives from the BOI.
24. Do you think having more low-skilled migrant workers will mean the loss of Thai workers' jobs after 2015?
No, I don't. According to a report conducted by Assumption University, as of 2007, immigrants represented around 5% of the country's workforce of 36 million. Most of them are young and unskilled workers from Myanmar, Laos, and Cambodia. There is a tendency for them to return to work in their own countries, which are accelerating their own development to catch up with their ASEAN counterparts. At the same time, the young Thais are turning away from the so-called 3D jobs, dirty, dangerous, and demeaning. So who will replace these migrant workers? When that problem arises, the Thai labor market will inevitably face a dilemma. In 2010, migrant workers contributed between 0.75 and 1.25% of Thailand's real GDP.
25. Do you know when the AEC will be launched?
As far as I know, ASEAN leaders at their November 2012 summit in Phnom Penh decided to delay the launch of the ASEAN Economic Community, AEC, for 12 months from January 1st to December 31st, 2015 to prepare the necessary regulations.
บทที่
Chapter 3. A Conversation about Thailand. The Kingdom of Thailand is popularly known as the Land of Smiles, Land of Yellow Robes, and Land of Tropical Fruits. Visitors to Thailand cannot explore the country within a short vacation, as each part of the country is diverse in culture and tradition from the others. The conversation in this chapter will cover various facets of Thailand, for example, tourist attractions, food, climate, tradition, and religion. The conversation takes place between a Thai and a tourist who wants to know more about Thailand. The conversation will enable readers to both study English and learn information about Thailand. This is a good way to prepare oneself to become a citizen of the ASEAN community.
1. Sawadee krab. Hello. Welcome to the Kingdom of Thailand. How was your trip?
Hello. Well, it's a long way from the U.S., but I think Thailand is worth a visit.
Good.
2. Firstly, can you tell me about the meaning of the name Thailand?
Well, our country has been called many things, including Land of Smiles, Land of Yellow Robes, and Land of Tropical Fruits. But in fact, Thailand means Land of the Three. We are very proud of the fact that our kingdom has never been colonized by any of the Western powers, and our people have always been free.
3. Now, can you tell me which places I should visit while I'm here?
Of course. There are many interesting places that you should see during a 2-week stay. I'd like to recommend 3 tourist attractions. First, see the Grand Palace in Bangkok, which houses the revered Emerald Buddha image. Then you should go to the north to visit the first ancient Thai capital, Sukhothai. On the way back to Bangkok, you should not miss visiting the second ancient Thai capital, Ayutthaya, where many activities are held daily for tourists. For example, an elephant ride, and the show of young and old elephants at the city's kraal.
4. How many old capitals do you have exactly?
We have 3. The first one is Sukhothai. The second one is Ayutthaya. And the third one is Thonburi, which is just opposite the Chao Phraya River from the current capital, Bangkok.
5. Apart from the historical sites, what would you recommend me to visit?
Well, after seeing the sites I've mentioned, you should visit the seaside resort of Pattaya, which is not far from Bangkok. Or you can go to the south, where you'll find plenty of beautiful beaches, for example, in Krabi, Phang Nga or Phuket. All are world-class tourist attractions that will impress you forever.
6. Great, but I'm hungry now. What are foreign visitors' favorite Thai dishes?
So far as I know, they like pad thai, fried small rice noodles with shrimp, egg, bean curd, bean sprouts, preserved radish and ground peanuts. Another dish is tom yam goong, a hot and sour shrimp soup. Actually, there are many more than those, but try those first.
7. Okay, I will. But tell me, what should I say when I greet Thai people?
Well, you can greet them either in English or in Thai. Sawadee krap. But if the speaker is a female, she uses the word ka at the end of sawadee.
8. I have to say only sawadee krap? Is that all?
Well, it depends on the situation. If the person you meet is older or otherwise more senior than you should greet him with a Y as well.
9. What do you mean by why?
Well, Y is a Thai word for the traditional Thai greeting and show of respect, indicated by pressing your palms together near your chest and bowing. It is used instead of a handshake, but it can also be used as a way to say sorry or thank you, or to pay respect.
10. Who should make the why first?
Well, if the person is older or more senior than you should make the Y first, and he or she will return it. Only monks and royalty do not need to return a Y. You will also make a Y when receiving a gift from a senior as a sign of thanks. Make your Y before you reach to take the object.
11. You have mentioned monks. I have noticed a lot of monks in their yellow robes on the streets. Can you tell me something about that?
Yes, I would love to. Buddhism is very important to the Thai people, and we hold the monks in great reverence because they preach the teachings of Lord Buddha. In fact, it has been a Thai custom for Buddhist males over 20 years old to be temporarily ordained as Buddhist monks, usually during the annual rains retreat. The period of ordination is not compulsory. They can remain in the monkhood for just a few days or for life. Even our beloved king and the crown prince have done that as well. Another important custom is that we give food to the monks every morning. It is a way of making merit dedicated to our dead relatives and benefactors. Many of these customs are also observed in other ASEAN countries such as Laos, Cambodia and Myanmar.
12. Can you tell me other Thai customs and conduct that I should know?
In fact, there are many, so I will mention only the most important ones. They are that 1. Thais hold the royal family in great reverence. All Thais and visitors are expected to show respect to all royal images, including national anthems and royal portraits on Thai currency. 2. Thais believe that the head is the most important part of the entire body and is inhabited by the Quan, the spiritual force of life. So, never pat a Thai on the head, even in the friendliest of circumstances. 3. The feet are considered the lowest and dirtiest part of the body. Do not point your feet at a Thai. Keep your feet under control and never place them on a table. The worst insult to a Thai is to have an unholy foot pointed at his sacred head. 4. The polite form of address in Thailand is to use kun, with the first name of both males and females, but not with a baby. One must not be surprised by being addressed by one's first name. This is because Thais revert to one another in this manner, usually with the title kun in front. You can also use kun as a form of address when speaking to a Thai if his or her name is not known. And 5. Removing shoes before entering homes or religious structures is essential.
13. What is the weather in Thailand like, and when is the best time to visit?
Thailand lies in a tropical zone characterized by monsoons. There are 3 seasons, namely dry or cool season, November to February, hot, March to May, and rainy, May to October. In the south, though, there is no cool season. The best time to visit Thailand is from November to February, when the northeast monsoon is blowing cool. During this period, the temperature ranges from 18 degrees C to 32 degrees C in Bangkok, while in northern and northeastern Thailand, temperatures can be quite cool, with morning temperatures as low as 8 degrees C to 12 degrees C. Nights can be particularly chilly, and at high altitudes, temperatures can even drop below freezing.
14. I'd like to know how big Thailand is, and how is the country divided?
Well, in area, Thailand, with approximately 513,254 square kilometers, is the world's 51st largest country. The country can be divided into 4 main geographical regions: the north, the central plains, the northeast, and the south, which are then divided into 76 provinces, Changwat. Each province is divided into districts, Ampol, and the districts are further divided into sub-districts, Tambons. In the province of Bangkok, the districts are called Ket.
15. How many major rivers does Thailand have? I have seen only the Chao Phraya, which flows through Bangkok and into the Gulf of Thailand.
Along with the Chao Phraya, the Mekong is considered a major river of Thailand, as it passes the northeast of the country. The Mekong is the world's 10th largest river and Asia's 7th biggest. It stretches from the Tibetan Plateau through China's Yunnan province before passing through or alongside Myanmar, Laos, Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam. It has an estimated length of 4,909 kilometers and drains an area of 795,000 square kilometers. Those 2 major rivers are the sustainable resource of Thai agriculture and transportation.
16. How many languages do Thai speak, and what about English?
Well, as you know, the official language of Thailand is Thai, with several dialects such as Lao and Khmer spoken in the northeast and Malay in the Muslim-dominated south. People in the north and the south have their own dialects. Even though English is a mandatory school subject, the number of fluent speakers is very low compared to their ASEAN counterparts. It is a worrisome issue that has been discussed in the educational circles of this country for a long time.
17. What about Thai boxing? I have heard of it even before coming here. Can you tell me something in brief?
Well, Thai boxing, or Muay Thai, is a native form of widely known kickboxing and is considered the national sport of Thailand. No one seems to know when it started, but Nai, Mr. Kanomtom, was a famous Thai boxer during the Ayutthaya period and has been an icon for all Thai boxers ever since. He defeated all the Burmese champions while held captive in Burma. Thai boxing incorporates kicks, punches, and knee and elbow strikes. Boxers wear gloves similar to those worn by Western boxers, but shoes are not allowed, as kicking with shoes is too dangerous.
18. Well, Thailand is known as the land of tropical fruits too. What are those fruits?
Our fruits are well known all over the world. We export a variety of them to several countries. The hot tropical climate and plentiful rainfall here are ideal for growing a huge variety, which are among the most diverse and delicious anywhere. Those fruits are both seasonal, such as durian, rambutan, mangosteen, longan, and lychee, and year-round, such as papaya, guava, coconut, orange, banana, pineapple, and rose apple. A huge variety of local produce has resulted in Thai fruits that can be enjoyed all year.
19. What are the most joyous celebrations in Thailand?
I think the most auspicious and joyous celebrations in Thailand are none other than Songkran, which is the old Thai New Year, also known as the Water Festival, and the King's birthday. These two occasions are celebrated in a grand style annually. People throughout the country await them with great enthusiasm. While Songkran is a time of joy and relaxation among family and friends, the King's birthday is a time of pride and patriotism. During April's week-long Songkran, visitors to Thailand will find people throwing water everywhere. Visitors are welcome to join the locals in the water wars, especially in the Khao San Road area of Bangkok.
20. Before the launch of the AEC at the end of 2015, what are Thais doing to prepare for membership in the AEC?
Well, I don't know about other Thais, but I myself have been reading everything I can find about ASEAN member countries. Formerly, I didn't care about them, but now I have to know everything I can. At the same time, I have to polish my English, because there will be fierce competition in the job market. As you know, students from within ASEAN who have graduated from the faculties of engineering, architecture, accounting, medicine, nursing, dentistry, and surveying will be eligible to work anywhere within ASEAN. So, in addition to a good general academic background, English is very important for everyone in ASEAN, since the ASEAN Charter stipulates that English is to be the language of ASEAN.
21. I have heard that Thailand intends to become a medical hub within 5 years. Is that true?
You've heard right. Thailand has an ambitious plan to become a world-class medical centre within that time. At present, Thailand's hospitals are internationally recognised as the best in Asia, while 33 spas are said to be world-class. Each year, our private hospitals treat a large number of foreign patients from all parts of the world, especially from Arab countries, since our medical bills are low for world-class treatments.
22. Do you think Thai businessmen should invest in neighboring ASEAN countries? If so, why?
Of course I do. The ASEAN region will become a fast-growing economic zone in the near future, and Thailand is stronger than its ASEAN counterparts, except for Singapore and Malaysia. Thai businesses should expand in the region since the cost of operating in Thailand is higher than in Indonesia, Vietnam, Laos and Cambodia. Any investment in those countries would lower the costs of Thai operators and would be more profitable than in their home countries.
23. Very well. Thank you for all the information about Thailand.
You are most welcome. After Thailand, do you plan to visit any other countries in ASEAN?
24. My next destination is Brunei. Have you ever been there?
Very good. No, I've never been to Brunei, but I'd like to go sometime. Lagon, goodbye, happy journey.
บทที่
Chapter 4. A conversation about Brunei. Brunei is an Islamic state southwest of the northern tip of Borneo. It's the smallest but richest country in ASEAN. The backbone of the country's economy is oil and gas, which allow Brunei to be classified as a developed nation. It gained independence from the United Kingdom on the 1st of January 1984 and joined ASEAN on the 7th of January 1984. We may not know much about this small and wealthy country, but we do know the head of state because we often see him attending ASEAN summits and other conferences around the region. He is none other than Sultan Hassan al-Bolkiah, one of the richest men in the world. He lives in the Istana Nurul Iman Palace, which, covering an area of 300 acres on a man-made hill, is the world's largest residential palace. In this chapter, there will be a conversation between a visitor and a Bruneian, who acts as a tour guide. Their discussion begins when they meet at the airport. 1. Hello, Abdul. Nice meeting you.
Salamat datang. Hello. Nice meeting you too. 2.
Abdul, is your home far from the airport?
Not really. As you know, Brunei is a small country, so it is possible to drive from one end of it to the other in less than 2 hours.
3. Really? Can you tell me which places I should visit during my stay here?
Of course, even though Brunei is small, there are many interesting places to visit. For example, Sultan Omar Ali Sufaddin Mosque, which is one of the most magnificent mosques in Southeast Asia, and a symbol of the strong Islamic faith of the people of Brunei. And Kampung Air, or Water Village, which was described by early European visitors as the Venice of the East, because its traditional and historic houses are built on stilts over water. Another interesting place is Istana Nurul Imam Palace. It is the Sultan's royal palace, the largest residential palace in the world.
4. Oh, actually, I'm a bit hungry and I'd like to eat now. Can you recommend some good cuisine for me?
Of course, but to be frank, food in Brunei is not much different from other ASEAN countries. In fact, it is greatly influenced by Singapore and neighboring Malaysia. Most of the local foods are spicy. 2 popular dishes are Brunei rendang, a spicy meat dish, and ambuyat, a gluey porridge with sago starch, which is the national dish of Brunei.
5. What is the official language of Brunei? Is English widely spoken here?
Well, Standard Malay is our official language, but English is widely used in business and government. It is also the language of instruction in educational institutions.
6. I have heard that oil and gas, which are said to be the backbone of the country, could possibly last for only another 30 years. Is that true?
I don't know the exact truth, but so far as I know, in around 30 years or so, the country's natural gas resources will indeed be depleted. So, our government is diversifying the country's rich resources into non-energy sectors, like ecotourism, transportation, and financial services, but still maintaining other oil and gas-related activities.
7. Brunei is a small and healthy country, but it still has foreign workers. Why is that? And where are they from?
Well, though Brunei is small and rich, housing construction and infrastructure development must be carried out at all times. Since most Bruneians prefer to work in well-paid jobs or for large companies, the country suffers a serious shortage of both skilled and unskilled laborers, and has to recruit workers from Malaysia, Thailand, the Philippines, Indonesia, and South Asia. They account for over a third of the workforce here. Although we have to bring in foreign workers, some of our folks are still unemployed since they are reluctant to accept manual work, especially in construction and other low-paying jobs.
8. Since Brunei is an Islamic state, are alcohol and pork consumed here?
Most Bruneians are Muslims, so their lives revolve around Islamic duties. Consumption of alcohol in public is prohibited by law, so it is not sold everywhere. Non-Muslim visitors are, however, allowed to bring in up to 2 liters of alcohol. Pork is allowed for non-Muslims, but during the month of Ramadan, visitors should not eat, drink, or smoke in front of the people who are fasting, as it is considered rude behavior.
9. What else should I know during my stay in Brunei?
Well, you know, Friday is the Muslim Sabbath. Everything is then closed. Most companies and government offices close on Sunday and Saturday afternoons too. Normally, Muslims pray 5 times a day, namely at dawn, noon, afternoon, sunset, and evening. During the fasting month of Ramadan, government offices work a 6-hour day. And during this holy month, entertainment and sporting activities are suspended.
10. How should I behave when I meet senior people? Can you tell me important Bruneian forms of etiquette?
Actually, there are many, so I will tell you only the important ones. Brunei is a hierarchical culture. Age and position are revered, so it is considered respectful if you bow your head to someone who is more senior than you in age or position. But to stare into another person's eyes, especially the one who is more senior in age or status than you, is considered disrespectful and rude. And most Bruneians do not shake hands with members of the opposite sex.
11. What about climate? Does Brunei experience natural calamities like other ASEAN countries?
In fact, our country is considered luckier than some of our ASEAN neighbors because we experience no typhoons, earthquakes, severe flooding, or other natural catastrophes. There is only seasonal haze from forest fires in nearby Indonesia, which poses a health risk to the whole region. Usually the average daily temperature in Brunei varies from 24 to 30 degrees Celsius. Although it may reach 33 to 40 degrees Celsius, the heat is moderated by sea breezes. The hottest months are usually March and April. I would say the country is an ideal place for water sports and outdoor activities.
12. I almost forgot to ask you. Do you have any popular festivals?
Yes, of course. We have many, but most of them involve religious celebrations. Their dates are not fixed on the Gregorian calendar, since they are based on the Islamic calendar. Some that can be fixed are the most spectacular ones. New Year's Day, 1 January, National Day, 23 February, Anniversary of the Royal Brunei Armed Forces, 31 May, Prophet Muhammad's birthday, 6 July, and Sultan's birthday, 15 July. The last being one of the most important events in Brunei. It's celebrated with much fervor and enthusiasm throughout the country.
13. Okay, Abdul. Thank you very much for everything, especially your generosity during my stay in this beautiful country. I must leave Brunei for Cambodia now. Goodbye.
You are always welcome here. Have a safe journey. Salamat tinggal. Goodbye.
บทที่
Chapter 5. A conversation about Cambodia. Cambodia is an immediate neighbor of Thailand, with which it shares some culture and a religion, Buddhism being the official religion of the kingdom. In ancient times, the Khmer Empire was powerful and prosperous in this region. Due to the Indochina War and internal conflicts, the country wasted a lot of time and money rebuilding the country into its former glory. For the past 10 years, Cambodia has experienced impressive economic growth, with the average of 6% annually. At the same time, with a population of 14.8 million in 2012, Cambodia is now the 68th most populous country in the world. In 2005, oil and natural gas deposits were found beneath its territorial waters. Once the commercial extraction begins, Cambodia will be an ASEAN partner whose impacts neither ASEAN nor the world will be able to underestimate. This chapter will be a conversation between a foreign visitor and a Cambodian acting as a guide. 1. Hello, Pirun. It's nice meeting you here at the Thai border crossing. How are you?
Saud Sade, hello. I'm fine, thank you.
2. Well, Parun, I have heard a lot about your country. Can you tell me some interesting places to visit here?
Of course, but a list of interesting places in Cambodia would be very long. So I will mention only the most interesting places. What do you think?
3. Sounds good. It's very kind of you.
Then I'd like to suggest you visit Angkor Wat, the largest Khmer monument, and Angkor Thom, giant stone faces. Both temples are in Angkor Archaeological Park and listed as UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Next, go to Preah Vihear Temple, another Hindu temple built during the Khmer Empire. Then, you should visit the Genocide Museum, which was once the Khmer Rouge Detention Center. Finally, you should not miss the Tonle Sap Great Lake, the richest freshwater fishing ground in the world.
4. But before we go, can you take me to eat something first?
Yes, I can. In fact, food in Cambodia is similar to that of neighboring Thailand and other Asian foods, except that it's a little less spicy and varied. The most popular dish is amok, the Cambodian national dish. It's a kind of curry, but is steamed in a banana leaf instead of boiling. This wonderful dish is similar to Thai hor mok and should be eaten with rice. Then try nom bang chok, or Khmer noodles, which are quite delicious and easy to eat.
5. Okay, now that we've eaten, I'd like to know more about the killing fields that I've seen in a movie about. Is it a true story?
Oh, it's true indeed. The Khmer Rouge's reign of terror was led by Pol Pot and his comrades, who ruled Cambodia between 1975 and 1979. The notorious regime was responsible for the deaths of an estimated 1.5 million Cambodians from execution and starvation. The era gave rise to the term killing fields, known worldwide and later used as the title of a 1984 film about the episode.
6. Since Cambodia has many ancient Khmer monuments dating back to the 9th to 15th centuries, like Angkor Wat, do you think Cambodia can earn more money from the tourism industry if properly managed?
I think so. As you know, a large number of tourists prefer to see the ruins of ancient glory rather than beaches or shopping destinations. From a war-torn country a few decades ago, Cambodia is now stable and the youngest member of ASEAN. If properly managed, Cambodia will be able to generate more revenue from its booming tourist industry.
7. I have heard about an Aspara Dance. What is that?
Certainly, Aspara Dance or Robam Tep Apsara is now one of the popular classical dances of Cambodia. The dance was created by the Royal Ballet of Cambodia in the mid-20th century under the royal patronage of Queen Sisawat Kasamak Miri, King Norodom Sihanouk's mother. The dancing style is said to be inspired by the Apsara figures in Angkor Wat. As you will see, the Apsara dancer dresses the way the Apsara figures or celestial dancers that adorn the temple's walls do.
8. That is great. I hope to see the dance before leaving Cambodia. Well, what about your popular festivals? Can you name some?
Yes, of course. Actually, there are many, but I think the most attended and the most spectacular one is Bon Om Tuk, or Bon Om Tuk, 24th to 26th of November, which is the water festival held at the end of the rainy season. The event also marks a reversal of the flow of the Tonle Sap River. The biggest celebration takes place with traditional boat racing in Phnom Penh. For 3 days, people from all walks of life join the city's residents to celebrate the much-awaited event day and night. It is estimated that 10% of Cambodians attend this event to play games, give thanks to the river, watch fireworks, dine, and attend the boat races in a carnival atmosphere. It is said that the boat racing dates back to the Khmer Empire.
9. What about border trade between Cambodia and neighboring Thailand? Do you think the bilateral trade will increase?
So far as I know, in 2011, border trade between Thailand and Cambodia totaled 55.41 billion baht, up 22.1% from a year earlier. Major imports from Thailand include automobiles, motorcycles, sugar, fabrics and textiles, and cosmetics, while exports are mainly agricultural products, minerals and wood. It has turned the policy of turning a battlefield into a marketplace, a brainchild of former Thai Prime Minister Chachai Chunhavan, into reality. Taking advantage of a stable political climate, Cambodia could become one of the economic powerhouses of the region in the near future.
10. I have heard of the late King Norodom Sihanouk since I was young. Can you tell me something about him?
Well, all Cambodians love King Norodom Sihanouk wholeheartedly, as he has done a lot for the betterment of Cambodia. He was the King of Cambodia from 1941 to 1955, and again from 1993 to 2004. After his second abdication in 2004, he was known as the King Father of Cambodia, and was succeeded by his son, King Norodom Sihamoni. King Sihanouk died after a heart attack in China on the 15th of October 2012, at the age of 89, after spending the last part of his life for medical treatment up there. The late king navigated Cambodia through 6 decades marked by independence from France, civil war, the genocidal regime of the Khmer Rouge, and peace after the UN intervention. And he supervised the May 1993 election that eventually brought peace to the once war-torn country.
11. Also, I'd like to know, how should I behave while living here? Can you tell me something about culture and tradition of Cambodia?
Frankly speaking, Cambodian people in general are very nice and polite, like their ASEAN counterparts. But there are some practices you may like to know. For example, it is impolite to make eye contact with someone who is older or someone considered superior. Also, walking into people's homes with shoes is extremely impolite. If you are not on the beach, you should dress politely, avoiding bikinis, shorts, or transparent shirts. People will treat you differently if you dress that way. Screaming and shouting in public is also very rude. Doing so will make you lose face and respect. You know, our culture is very hierarchical. The greater a person's age, the greater the level of respect we should give him or her. As in Thai culture, it is taboo to touch someone's head or point one's feet at him or her, as the feet are the lowest part of the body and are considered to be impure. When greeting people or to show respect in Cambodia, people do the Sampye gesture, identical to the Indian Namaste and the Thai Y.
12. All right, I should be very careful about those things. Earlier, you told me about the Great Lake. So, you have a lot of fish there, right?
Oh, you mean Tonle Sap? Tonle Sap is the largest freshwater lake in Southeast Asia. About 850 freshwater fish species are found in the lake area. So, in 1997, it was nominated as a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve. But I cannot tell you how large it is, as its size varies depending on the floodplain from year to year, roughly between 10,000 and 15,000 square kilometers. Above all, over 4 million people live in the 6 provinces surrounding the Great Lake, and more than 1 million of them depend on the lake's fisheries for their livelihoods. It is estimated that about 230,000 metric tons of fish are caught per year. If you go to the border markets, you will see a lot of fresh and dried fish sold in large quantities and varieties.
13. Oh, that's great. Now, I'd like to ask you a last question about your export products. Which are the main driving forces for the growth of the Cambodian economy?
At the moment, we can say that the Cambodian economy is the best performer in Southeast Asia, with the average growth of 6% for the last 10 years, thanks to major export products like clothing, timber, rubber, rice, fish, tobacco, and footwear. Casinos draw big spending tourists to our country, so the gambling business generates huge revenue for our national coffer as well.
14. Okay, my friend, it's time to leave Cambodia for Laos now. Thanks for everything. Let's keep in touch. Goodbye.
You're most welcome. If you have more questions, please email to ask me anytime. Lee Sen Heri. Goodbye.
บทที่
Chapter 6. A conversation about Laos. Dubbed the land of a million elephants and the jewel of the Mekong, the Lao People's Democratic Republic, or in short, Laos, has a long history of political struggle, especially during the Vietnam War, 1964 to 1973. A mountainous and landlocked country, Laos, Thailand's northeastern neighbour, is reported to have suffered a heavy bombardment from US airstrikes on an average of one B-52 bomb load every 8 minutes, 24 hours a day between 1964 and 1973. The plain of Jars alone was bombarded by over 80 million bombs. Some say the US showered Laos with more bombs than it dumped on Germany and Japan combined during World War II. The US dropped more than 2 million tons of bombs on Laos, while in World War II, 2.2 million tons of bombs were dropped on Germany and its allies by all sides. The remnants of the deadly war can still be seen here and there in Laos. After peace returned to the region, Laos has had a steady recovery both politically and economically. As a member of ASEAN, Laos has a vital role to play in the region, especially when the AEC is launched at the end of 2015, and SME companies relocate to Laos to take advantage of its low labor costs and rich natural resources. The following is a conversation between a visitor and a Laotian who acts as his guide while touring the exotic areas of Laos. 1. Hello, Kampan. It's nice meeting you at the airport. How are you?
สบายดี Hello. I am fine, thank you.
2. This is my first visit to Laos. I am curious to know more about your country, especially the important places. Can you tell me which are the most interesting?
Of course, we have many. For example, Luang Prabang, which was the capital of Lancang Kingdom during the 13th to 16th centuries. The whole of Luang Prabang is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Wat Cheng Tong, or Temple of the Golden City, is one of the most important temples in the country. Having been built around 1560 by King Secretariat, who ruled Laos from 1548 to 1571, it is very old. Then you should see the Plain of Jars, which dates back about 2,000 years. Here thousands of large stone jars, each weighing several tons, are scattered over a large area of the low foothills near Punsawan. Before leaving Laos, don't forget to visit one more place, the national symbol of Laos, that is Pa Tat Luang, a gold-covered large Buddhist stupa in the center of Vientiane. It is regarded as the most important national monument in Laos. Actually, there are many more, but they will make a very long list to remember.
3. Right. It would be a long list. Well, I am confused about the name of your country, which in short we call Laos. Where does that S come from?
This is an interesting question. Frankly speaking, I am confused about it as well. But some say that the French named the country in plural form, as it was united from 3 separate Lao kingdoms in French Indochina in 1893. Some further say that it is a mistranslation of the French name Royaume des Lao, Kingdom of the Lao people.
4. Well, what you said is quite reasonable, considered from a historical perspective. Anyway, let us go for food now. Please introduce your food to me.
Sure. In fact, Lao food is quite similar to that in the northeast of Thailand. Lao food is, however, rather spicy and bitter, and uses a lot of fresh herbs and vegetables. Steamed sticky rice is the staple food of our country. It can be eaten with soup, or lap, either beef or pork salad, by hand, as this type of rice is too sticky to use a spoon with. Lap is considered the national dish of the country, too. You should also try the spicy green papaya salad, tam mak hung, called som tam in Thailand, and spicy grilled chicken, which are also favorite dishes in Laos.
5. Oh, let's try both. But tell me about Buddhist monks in Laos. Do they collect food in the morning as they do in Thailand?
Well, monks in Laos, like monks in all Buddhist countries, go out to collect food in the morning. In Laos, however, people offer only the steamed sticky rice to the monks, while curry or soup is taken to offer them at the temple later. In their daily alms round, you can see long lines of monks in saffron robes, walking calmly along in all towns or villages, especially in Luang Prabang, where visitors eagerly look on with admiration and respect.
6. As you know, Thai and Laos look very similar in many ways. How can you explain this to a visitor like me?
Yes, you're right. Apart from being situated in the same region, Thai and Lao people are so close to one another that they seem inseparable. People of both countries share the same roots in race, language, religion, beliefs, customs, and culture. They are said to have the same ancestors of Thai. As a result, the basic ways of their lives are very similar, especially the deep faith in Theravada Buddhism that shapes their culture and tradition. Their characters are also very much alike. For example, in their polite and gentle manner and respect for elders. So there is a Thai saying, Ban Pi Mung Nong, or a home of the elder brothers and a city of the younger brothers. But some say that they are different in that Laotians are more polite and gentle than their Thai counterparts. I have no comment about this.
7. That's all right. Some people say that other ASEAN countries lag behind Laos in English language competence. What about French? Do you still learn French?
Well, so far as I know, in Laos, people learn English with great enthusiasm, and it has become fashionable now. Although English is the working language of ASEAN, and many more people are eager to learn it, French is used in government, and is also still used as a medium of instruction in some educational institutions.
8. What about the Lao economy?
I think, since it is developing steadily, that it is much better than a few years back. Even now, though, our country remains one of the poorer countries in Southeast Asia. The problem is that we have inadequate infrastructure to support rapid growth. Our economy has to rely on investment and trade with neighboring countries like Thailand, Vietnam, and China. We generate electricity from the Mekong River and sell power to our neighbors. You know, Laos will be a regional player in terms of low labor costs and rich mineral resources when the AEC comes into effect at the end of 2015. Many foreign companies will relocate to our country to take advantage of those facts.
9. What about tourism in Laos?
I would say that tourism is the fastest growing industry in Laos, as the country is increasingly popular with people who prefer a relaxed lifestyle and unspoiled nature. At present, ecotourism is becoming a new rising star in all parts of the world, and Laos has a lot to offer besides the cultural and historical attractions that I mentioned earlier. Because of the simple lifestyle of our people, we use the tourism slogan, Simply Beautiful, for the official Visit Laos Year 2012's logo.
10. Amazing! Now I'd like to know how I should behave while living in Laos.
You can behave the way you do in Thailand or Cambodia. Since we are close neighbors and Buddhist countries, we share similar cultural and traditional practices. For example, dressing properly while visiting temples and taking off our shoes before entering temple buildings or private homes. Showing the sole of one's foot is considered poor manners, and as the head is the highest part of the body, we don't touch anyone there, especially the elders or high-ranking officials. But touching a child's head as a friendly gesture or to console him or her is allowed. This depends on time and place as well.
11. All right, now I know better. What about popular festivals in Laos? Can you name some?
We have many. Most of our festivals are based on the Buddhist faith that has dominated the country since ancient times. I think the most joyous and noisiest ones are Pi Mai Lao, Lao New Year in mid-April, and Boat Racing Festival in October. In Laos, Pi Mai, or New Year, is the most fervently celebrated event of the year. You will see the entire country stop working in order to celebrate the long-awaited event. It is similar to the Songkran Festival in Thailand.
12. Do Laotians throw water on each other as in Thailand?
Of course we do. Pi Mai Lao is celebrated with parades, circle dances, or ramwong, traditional Lao folk singing, or morlam, and water throwing, a water pouring ceremony for the Buddha statue and Buddhist monks forms an important part of the event. During this time of year, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, and Thailand all celebrate a traditional New Year from April 13 to 15. It is commonly called the Water Festival.
13. I have heard about Lam Vong. What is that?
Lam Vong is a typical Lao folk dance that means to dance in circles. It is a famous dance and greatly enjoyed during parties, weddings, festivals, and other local celebrations. It is very easy to participate in a lamvong dance as it does not require any special skills to perform like other types of dancing. Just slowly move your hands and do simple footwork in a circle. It's great fun and strengthens friendship among all participants. Such a folk dance is also performed in Cambodia and Thailand.
14. Now I'd like to ask you a last question before I leave Laos for Vietnam. What is the difference between Muay Lao and Muay Thai?
Well, Muay means boxing. Muay Lao is a traditional unarmed martial art from Laos. It is considered our national sport. It is a form of kickboxing similar to other styles of boxing found in Southeast Asia, like Muay Thai in Thailand, Padal Srui in Cambodia, and Let Doi in Myanmar. In the fight, the boxers are allowed to use punches, kicks, elbows, and knee strikes amid close supervision of a referee on stage. Muay Lao was an event included in the 2009 Southeast Asian Games in Vientiane. Unfortunately, it is not as popular as Muay Thai. I think because we lack of enough support from all involved.
15. Well, my dear friend Kampan, time goes so fast. Now I have to leave Laos for Vietnam. Thank you for everything. I hope we meet again. Goodbye.
You are right. The proverb says, time and tide wait for no man. Suk di de. Goodbye and take care. Happy journey. Chapter 7. A Conversation about Vietnam. After suffering a heavy loss in the fierce battle at Dien Diem Phu in 1954, the French decided to pull out of Vietnam, which left Vietnam divided into two political camps, the North backed by the Soviet Union and China, and the South backed by the U.S. and its allies. Consequently, conflicts between the two political ideologies intensified and led to a large-scale war in this region known worldwide as the Vietnam War. After the war ended in 1975 with a North Vietnamese victory, Vietnam was reunified under a communist government. Since then, the Vietnam War has been the subject of many films such as The Deer Hunter, Platoon, Good Morning Vietnam, We Were Soldiers, and others. People from all parts of the world know Vietnam mostly from movies, but since the communist government kept the country isolated for so long, do not know exactly what the country is like. Only in 1976 did the government adopt a series of economic and political reforms that led to a steady growth of the Vietnamese economy. Since 2000, the Vietnamese economy has been one of the best performers in Southeast Asia. Prior to the launch of the AEC at the end of 2015, Vietnam is ready to face the challenges lying ahead, especially its infrastructure and human resources development. The country aims to become a developed nation by 2020. The following is a conversation between a visitor and a Vietnamese who acts as his guide while he is in Vietnam. 1. Hello, Ming. How are you?
Xin Xiao. Hello. I am fine, thank you. And you?
2. I am fine. It is very nice we could meet on time as my schedule in Vietnam is very tight. Anyway, I am so hungry now. Please recommend your national dish to me.
Okay, I will take you to taste pho, which is the most popular Vietnamese national cuisine. Pho, pronounced pho, is a noodle soup served with either beef or chicken. The dish includes noodles made from rice flour and is seasoned with a few herb sprigs and a chili paste. Pho can be found in many countries, especially where Vietnamese reside, such as France, and major cities in Canada, the US, and Australia. You know, pho was listed 28th on the world's 50 most delicious foods list compiled by CNN Go in 2011. Another dish I'd like you to try is nem ran, or fried spring rolls, called Chagyo in the southern Vietnam. It's a much appreciated speciality and can be served year-round.
3. Oh, the names make my mouth water. Well, Ming, I know Vietnamese, but I don't know Viet Cong. Can you tell me who they are?
Well, we must go back in Vietnamese history for that. The Viet Cong, or National Liberation Front, NLF, was a political organization and army in South Vietnam that fought the United States and South Vietnamese governments during the Vietnam War, 1959 to 1975. It had both guerrilla and regular army units that were supported and trained by the government of Communist North Vietnam, which later emerged on the winning side. The group was disbanded in 1976 after Vietnam was united under communist rule.
4. At least I know some history of Vietnam now. Well, what about some interesting places that I should visit?
To be honest, most people think only of war when Vietnam is mentioned, but Vietnam has many places of interest. Some of them even date back over 3,000 years. For example, Ha Long Bay, one of the world's natural wonders and listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, has become one of the top tourist attractions in Vietnam. Then you should visit Ho Chi Minh City, formerly known as Saigon, which offers several museums that display Vietnamese dramatic history relating to the horrors of war. Next is Hue, the former imperial capital of Vietnam and another UNESCO World Heritage Site. Last is Hoi An, just south of Da Nang. It's an ancient trading port so rich in history that it, too, is listed as a World Heritage Site. I think just those places will take you a lot of time to see.
5. I have heard that people still eat dogs in Vietnam. Can you tell me something about that?
Yes, people here still eat dogs. But, dogs are eaten not only in Vietnam, but all over Asia. In Korea, China, Laos, and some parts of Thailand as well. But people see Vietnam as a major dog-eating country. Actually, dog meat, or thịt chó, is a speciality of northern Vietnam arising from famines during the prolonged war in the country. Even after the war, eating dog meat has remained popular as Vietnamese believe it's good for health and bringing good fortune.
6. Oh, but I feel awful to think of dog meat. I hope it won't be served to me instead of beef or pork.
No. I'm sure it won't be unless you order it, because dog meat is quite expensive compared to other food here.
7. Oh, I'm glad to hear that. Now, I'd like to know if Vietnam is going to overtake Thailand as the world's largest rice exporter.
Well, I don't know the details, but the media say that this year, 2012, Vietnam may surpass Thailand as the world's biggest rice exporter. The high cost of Thai rice may put Vietnam in the lead. But Vietnam must compete with India, Pakistan and Myanmar, but mostly India.
8. That means the Vietnamese economy is very good, right?
I would say it is better now. The Vietnam War destroyed much of the country's agrarian economy. The government thus introduced the free market economic reforms that eventually helped Vietnam achieve economic growth at an annual rate of about 7% from 2000 to 2005, a rate making Vietnam one of the world's fastest growing economies. Our economy will be much better if we have adequate infrastructure. That will attract more foreign direct investment, or FDI.
9. What about English proficiency among the Vietnamese? Is it better than among Thais?
Well, I don't know a lot about this, but the English Proficiency Index, or EPI, conducted in October 2012 by the EF Education First, a global language training company, indicated that Thailand has one of the lowest scores among countries included in the study. Both Vietnam's and Indonesia's scores are ranked low proficiency, while Thailand's score is ranked very low proficiency.
10. Thank you for that answer. Now I'd like to know about your culture and how I should behave while staying in Vietnam.
The Vietnamese are regarded as polite and hospitable. Here is some advice for you. As in many Southeast Asian countries, touching another person's head is considered disrespectful. Only an elder can touch the head of a child. Breaking a promise is hard to forgive. It's very difficult to restore a lost confidence. Speaking loudly is considered rude. People usually smile instead of saying thank you, so their smile is treated as a silent thank you. Insults to elders or ancestors are a serious social violation and often lead to severed social ties, as Vietnamese culture is concerned so more with seniority.
11. All right, I will be careful about that. Well then, what are the major export products of Vietnam? And who are its trading partners?
Vietnam's major export products include crude oil, textiles and garments, rice, coffee, rubber, coal, aquaculture, and processed forest products. Obviously, agricultural produce dominates the export list, but that will soon change as Vietnam aims to increase its industry-based exports in the near future. You know, currently our country is the third largest oil producer in Southeast Asia. Our trading partners are China, Singapore, South Korea, Japan, and Taiwan.
12. The other day I saw a really beautiful woman's dress. Does it have a name?
That must have been our national costume, called Ao Dai, which is most commonly worn by women. Ao Dai, pronounced Ao Yai, was once worn by both genders. Now it is mostly reserved for women, although men may wear it for occasions like traditional weddings, like the one in the movie Indochine.
13. Can you tell me the most interesting festivals in Vietnam?
Of course. Actually, there are many, but I will mention only two. First is the Tet New Year Celebration, which is the most important annual event amongst the Vietnamese. It is usually held in late January or early February. The celebration is officially held for 3 days, but it may continue for a week or more and involves eating, drinking, and social gathering. It is also a time for family reunions and paying respect to ancestors and senior relatives. The auspicious event is so important to Vietnamese that wherever they are, they will find time to come back to be with their loved ones and join in the festivities. Another festival is the Mid-Autumn Moon Festival, or Full Moon Festival, which takes place on a full moon night on the 15th of lunar August. The festival involves moon contemplating, a procession of star and moon-shaped lanterns, and holding parties with mooncakes and fruits. The event ends with the lion dance to ensure good fortune among the participants.
14. What about martial arts? Do you have martial arts?
Of course we have. The most popular one is Vovinam, which was included in the SEA Games 2011 held in Indonesia. This martial art is based on the principle of hard and soft. It includes training of the body as well as the mind. Its wide range of techniques includes punching and kicking. You know, it has been learnt in 100 countries by hundreds of thousands of followers. It is now one of the world's most popular sports.
15. Well, Ming, thank you for everything. I enjoyed talking with you. I must leave Vietnam for Myanmar now. Goodbye.
I enjoyed talking with you too. Tambiet. Goodbye.
บทที่ 8
Chapter 8. A conversation about Myanmar. Myanmar, formerly known as Burma, is variously known worldwide as the Land of Pagodas, Land of 1,000 Pagodas, or even Land of Golden Pagodas, as in all parts of the country where the Burmese people live, there are pagodas and Buddhist temples. Since 1986, a new official name, Republic of the Union of Myanmar, has been used. Some countries, however, citing the doubtful legitimacy of the military ruler, choose to use the old name. Internationally, both names are used. Myanmar is the largest country in mainland Southeast Asia and the second largest country within ASEAN, next to Indonesia. Since its independence from British occupation in 1948, the country has been embroiled in a myriad of domestic problems, leading to its isolation and economic sanctions by many countries, especially the US and Western nations. Unlike other former British colonies, Myanmar is not a member of the Commonwealth of Nations. But following the installation of a civilian government in 2010, the reclusive country is now open to the outside world. With foreign investors flown in to take advantage of its low labour costs and plentiful resources, strained relations with the Western nations have steadily improved. The opposition leader, Mrs. Aung San Suu Kyi, is now a member of Myanmar's parliament. In this chapter, there will be a conversation between a visitor and a Myanmar friend who acts as his guide while venturing around the country. 1. Hello, Tanmu. It's nice meeting you this morning.
Mingala Bar. Hello. It's nice meeting you too. This is your first visit to Myanmar, am I right?
2. Absolutely. Your country has been closed for a long time. First, can you tell me the tourist attractions of Myanmar?
Of course. You know, Myanmar was the cradle of some early civilizations of Southeast Asia. So you won't be disappointed coming here. You should first visit Shwe Dagon Pagoda in Yangon. This golden cone-shaped Buddhist monument is a symbol of Myanmar. Yangon itself earns the name the Garden City of the East due to its plentiful lush green trees and beautiful lakes. Then, 80 kilometers from Yangon is Bago, formerly Pegu, home of the big Shwe Taiyang reclining Buddha and Shwe Mada Pagoda. Built by the Mon King, the Shwe Mada Pagoda is said to be over 1,000 years old. Next, you should visit Pagan, which was the capital of the first Myanmar Empire. The ancient capital covers an area of 42 square kilometers with over 2,000 well-preserved pagodas and temples of the 11th to 13th centuries. You may also visit Inle Lake, where the lake dwellers, called Intar, row their boats with one leg instead of using hands.
3. Why is Myanmar known as the Golden Land?
Well, I think because gold is used everywhere. You will find that the Buddha images and the pagodas and temples are all covered with either gold leaf or gold-colored paint. But the gold seen on the Shwe Dagon Pagoda uses genuine gold plate on the brick structure. You will find that in other Buddhist countries, the color of gold is also used, but not as much as in Myanmar.
4. Oh, I see. Now my stomach is crying. Can you take me to eat your national dish? What is your national dish?
Our national dish is mohinga, rice noodles served with thick fish broth. The main ingredients of the broth are catfish, chickpea flour, lemongrass, banana stem, garlic, onion, and ginger. Although people eat rice as their main food, they enjoy eating mohinga at breakfast and on special occasions. Another dish that I'd like you to try is a popular snack called lapet, pickled tea leaves with a dash of oil and served with sesame seeds, fried garlic, and roasted peanuts.
5. Can you tell me about King Bayanong? Why did people call him Conqueror of the 10 Directions?
King Bayingnong, 1551 to 1581, is renowned as the most capable king who reunited Myanmar and expanded Myanmar power in all directions, against the Shan states in the north, Siam, Thailand in the south, Laos, the east, and up to Manipur in the west. That is probably why we call him the conqueror of the 10 directions. During his reign, Siam remained his vassal state for more than 15 years. By 1599, 18 years after his death, his great empire completely collapsed under his weak successors. Immediately after the demise of King Bayingnong, King Narasin the Great liberated Thailand and successfully restored the Thai kingdom to its former glory. In Thailand, there is a novel and movie about King Bayingnong as well.
6. That's very interesting. What about important rivers in Myanmar? Do you have any?
Yes, of course. We have 4 main rivers, namely the Irrawaddy River, the Tanewin River, Salween or Salwin, the Chindwin, and the Sitang. Among these rivers, the Irrawaddy is the longest, nearly 2,170 kilometers. It is the lifeblood stream of Myanmar and flows into the Gulf of Matabon. Due to its broad width and length, it is also known as the Elephant River. These rivers are the main sources of our plentiful freshwater fish for domestic consumption and export.
7. Now, please tell me what your important festivals in Myanmar are.
Like other Buddhist countries, we have many important festivals. But I think the top event is Tingyan, the Water Festival. It is the Myanmar New Year and is held from the 13th to the 17th of April. Similar to the Thai Songkran, people take part in water pouring, and merit-making forms an important part of the auspicious event. Everyone in Myanmar waits for the event with great joy and excitement every year. Another interesting festival is Pong Da U, or Pagoda Festival, which takes place every year during October or November. During the festival, Buddha images from Pong Da U temple are placed on a decorated royal barge and floated around in a lake. The procession stops at villages for people to pay homage. It is a unique festival that draws people from near and far to take part or to view with admiration.
8. Oh, that's great. Well, I have heard about the Valley of Rubies. What is it?
Okay. The Valley of Rubies is the mountainous Mogok area, 200 kilometers north of Mandalay. The area is noted for its rare pigeon's blood rubies and blue sapphires. Mogok and other villages nearby have been famous since ancient times for its gemstones, especially rubies and sapphires. 90% of the world's rubies come from Myanmar. The red stones are prized for their purity and hue. It is said that a large ruby in the middle of the crown of the British Queen came from Myanmar as well.
9. Oh, I'd like to go there sometime. Tell me about the role of Myanmar in ASEAN.
Since joining ASEAN in 1997, Myanmar has kept a low profile due to its internal problems and foreign criticism of its poor human rights records. After a series of reforms and an election on March 30, 2011, leaders of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations agreed that Myanmar can chair the regional bloc in 2014. Although the leadership of the ASEAN regional grouping rotates annually, Myanmar was persuaded to give up its turn to hold the ASEAN chair and host the ASEAN Summit in 2006. Now, there are a lot of positive developments, especially after the historic visit of American President Barack Obama in November 2012.
10. Now I'd like to know how I should behave while I'm here.
Our culture is not much different from that of other Buddhist countries. For example, it is considered improper to lose one's temper in public. Myanmar people are very friendly and outgoing. They follow the Buddhist custom of not touching a person on the head, as it is spiritually considered the highest part of the body. Patting a child on the head is also considered improper. A person should not point his feet at anyone, as it is considered rude. Footwear is to be removed upon entering temple complexes, and it is advisable to remove footwear upon entering anyone's house. These are our common practices. Even though you are a foreign visitor, people will look upon you with admiration and respect if you follow our customs.
11. Thanks for the advice. Well, I have seen yellowish-white stuff on women's faces. What is that for?
Oh, that's Tanaka, a yellowish-white cosmetic paste made from the ground bark of several trees. It's a distinctive feature of Myanmar women, who are commonly seen applying it on their faces and sometimes arms. Girls and boys are also seen applying this organic cosmetic paste. It is the beauty secret of Myanmar women, worn to protect fragile complexions from the strong, darkening sunlight. The paste is said to have been used for over 1,000 years.
12. What about kickboxing in Myanmar? You do have kickboxing, right?
You are right. We also have kickboxing, but here it is known as Letway, pronounced Letway. In many ways, it is similar to the Muay Thai of neighboring Thailand, but Letway also allows the use of headbutts. Letway fighters also maintain the tradition of fighting without boxing gloves. Instead, they use hand wraps consisting of hemp or cloth as protective gear in the ring. Some people say that Letway is bolder and more extreme. Its techniques are a bit slower but stronger than those of other Southeast Asian kickboxing.
13. I have heard the Thai language program is very popular here, especially at Rangoon University. Do you know why?
I really don't know how popular it is, but news reports say about 200 students are enrolled in the Thai language program. They felt it would give them an edge in finding work with Thai firms in Myanmar that need locals who can speak their language. You know, an increase in the number of Thai tourists and companies in Myanmar also means better job opportunities for them. Some plan to pursue higher education in Thailand as well.
14. Oh, I just heard that. Do you think Thai should invest in Myanmar? Any ideas from you?
To be frank, it's quite difficult to answer, as I'm not a businessman. But I think Myanmar is an attractive destination for foreign investors looking for low labor costs and natural resources. Apart from plentiful natural resources, Myanmar will enjoy tax privileges this year, 2013, from the generalized system of preferences granted by developed countries. At the same time, with a daily minimum wage of only 75 to 120 baht, do you think Myanmar won't be attractive to them?
15. I think it's very interesting. Now comes my last question. Tanmu, can you tell me something about your export products?
As you know, Myanmar does not enjoy good trade relations with the U.S. and other Western countries. Even though Myanmar is a member of the WTO, ASEAN, and BIMSTEC, Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multisectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation, its exports fell sharply during the global economic crisis of 2008-9. Fortunately, it still enjoys healthy trade relations with its neighboring countries like India, Thailand, and China. Our export products include natural gas, wood products, beans, fish, rice, clothing, and jade and gems.
16. Thank you very much, my dear friend. I think it is time to leave Myanmar for Singapore now. Thank you for everything. Goodbye.
You are most welcome. Enjoy your trip. Twa baun me. Goodbye.
บทที่
Chapter 9. A conversation about Singapore. Singapore is a small island country made up of 63 islands in Southeast Asia. The country is highly urbanized with a limited land area of just 723.2 square kilometers. Therefore, more land is being created for development through land reclamation. It is expected that by 2033, its area may grow by another 100 square kilometers. As a result, property in Singapore is among the world's most expensive. Singapore is now the 13th most expensive city in the world. Its residents work the longest hours in the world as well. Although Singapore's area is the smallest in ASEAN, the country has the third highest per capita income in the world. Singapore is well known as a world leader in several areas, especially economic development and entertainment. With its diverse social and cultural background, Singapore appears to be a blend of Western modernity and Asian culture. As a founding member of ASEAN, Singapore has played a pivotal role in the development of this region since the very beginning. With the AEC set to be launched at the end of 2015, Singapore seems to be ready to meet the change much better than its ASEAN partners. This chapter will see a conversation between a visitor and his Singaporean friend, who will take him on a tour around the island nation. 1. Hello, Tom. I am happy to meet you here at the airport. How are you?
Hello, Jim. I'm fine, thank you.
2. Jim, I am curious to know the meaning of Singapore. Can you tell me?
That is a good question. As far as I know, in the 13th century, a prince from Palembang, one of the oldest cities in Indonesia, was shipwrecked and washed ashore to an island, where he saw a creature that he believed was a lion. So he named the island Singapura, which means Lion City in Malay, from which the name derives. Singa means lion, while Pura means city. To coincide with the name of the country, a mythical lion with the body of a fish known as merlion is used as a mascot and symbol of Singapore. Merlion is a combination of mer, meaning the sea, and lion together.
3. That's interesting. What about tourist attractions in Singapore?
Well, although our country is a small nation, we have a lot to offer tourists. First, you should see the merlion. The 8.6-metre tall statue stands at the Marina Bay waterfront looking toward the sea. Then, go to Jurong Bird Park, Southeast Asia's largest bird park. It is home to over 8,000 birds of 600 species from all over the world. There you will see the world's largest collection of Southeast Asian hornbills, South American toucans, and the world's second largest penguin exhibit. After that, see Sentosa Island. The island has been developed into a tourist area with many man-made attractions such as Underwater World, the Wax Museum, the Butterfly Park, and the recently opened Resorts World Sentosa. Actually, there are many other places to see. Let's visit them later if we have time.
4. Okay, that's fine with me, but now I'm quite hungry. Please let me taste your national dish, whatever it may be.
No problem. I will introduce it to you. Hainanese chicken rice is the most popular dish in Singapore. It originated on China's Hainan Island and was brought to Singapore by Chinese immigrants. You know, visitors from other Southeast Asian countries have been known to fly in especially for a taste of this gourmet boiled chicken and rice cooked with chicken broth.
5. Oh, how nice it sounds. Now, it seems to me everybody in your country can speak English fluently. How many languages are used here?
As you know, the population of Singapore is highly diverse. The majority are Chinese with Malay and Indian minorities. Therefore, the country uses 4 official languages, namely English, Chinese, Malay and Tamil. English is, however, not only the language of the nation, but also the language of business, government, and instruction in educational institutions. Of course, not all, but 80% of Singaporeans are fluent in English with a unique brand of colloquial English, Singlish, the linguistic product of a society that uses 4 official languages.
6. I have heard that Singapore has a population of about 5 million, but that not all are locals. Is that right?
You are right. In Singapore, 3.27 million people are Singapore citizens, or SCs, and 0.54 million are permanent residents, PRs. Combined, they make a resident population of 3.81 million. The rest are a non-resident population of 1.46 million who are working, studying, or living here on a non-permanent basis. Thus, Singapore has a total population of 5.27 million people.
7. With limited natural resources, how can Singapore survive?
I don't think that's a problem. Some people underestimated Singapore as a small country that could not survive on its own. But in reality, after separating from Malaysia in 1965, Singapore has become a manufacturing centre with one of the highest incomes in the region. The country's strategic location, low tax rates, advanced infrastructure, top logistics hub, and skilled workforce pushed the island nation to become the world's 4th leading financial centre. Its port is one of the 5 busiest in the world. The Singaporean economy is one of the freest and business-friendliest. Above all, it is one of the least corrupt countries in the world. As a result, a large number of foreign direct investments, FDIs, poured into the country with over 7,000 multinational corporations, especially from the US and Japan.
8. Since Singapore has limited natural resources, did tourism play an important part in its economic development?
Absolutely. Tourism forms a large part of the Singaporean economy. To woo many more tourists, in 2005, the government legalized gambling and allowed the opening of casino resorts. The island nation is also promoting itself as a hub of medical tourism and education. In 2006 alone, Singapore hosted over 80,000 international students who came mostly from China, India, and ASEAN countries. In 2010, about 11.6 million tourists visited. Besides having one of the world's lowest crime rates, its transport covers most of the public venues. This increases convenience for tourists who may want to move around the country or go shopping, especially along Orchard Road, which is dominated by multi-storey shopping centres and hotels, and is the centre of tourism in Singapore.
9. That's very interesting, Tom. But I'm wondering how durians are regarded as your national fruit. Where can you grow them?
Well, the durian is regarded by many people in Southeast Asia as the king of fruits. We also have wild durian in a few forests that we have left, but most of them are grown on government property. Although Singapore is not a durian-producing nation, we have the highest reported consumption of durian in the world. With a population of only 5.27 million, we import more than 22,000 tons of durian every year. Durian is plentiful, and it's always durian season in Singapore, one of the largest trading centres in the world and a centre for durian fanaticism. We import most of our durian from Thailand and Malaysia. Our consumption is the reason we regard the king of fruits as our national fruit.
10. What about important festivals in Singapore? Do you have any?
Yes, why not? Singapore being a melting pot of various cultures, each ethnic group has its own festivals, most related to its religion. Almost every month of the year sees a celebration of some form or other. Singaporeans respect and celebrate one another's festivals with great joy and enthusiasm. The following are significant festivals celebrated throughout the island nation. New Year's Day, 1st of January. Chinese New Year, the 10th and 11th of February. Vesak Day, a Buddhist festival, on the 24th of May. National Day, the 9th of August. Hari Raya Puasa, end of Ramadan, 8th of August. Deepavali, Hindu Festival of Light, on the 3rd of November. Hari Raja Haji, Feast of Sacrifice, on the 15th of October. And then Christmas Day, the 25th of December. Actually, there are others, but I've mentioned the most familiar ones.
11. Now I'd like to know about legal penalties, especially for petty offenses that other countries consider harmless and legal, but are banned in Singapore.
You know, our society is highly regulated, so much so that many activities considered fairly harmless in other countries are treated as offences here. For example, failing to flush toilets after use, littering, spitting on the roads, jaywalking, the possession of pornography, and the sale of chewing gum. Some say that such heavy regulation has provided Singapore with the lowest incidence of violent crime in the world. In addition, Singapore retains both corporal punishment in the form of caning and capital punishment by hanging as punishments for serious offences. As a result, between 1991 and 2004, over 400 people were executed in Singapore, mostly for drug trafficking. This island nation has one of the highest execution rates in the world, surpassing Saudi Arabia.
12. That's frightening. Well, moving on, has Singapore experienced any natural calamities like storms or flooding?
No, we are lucky to be spared from natural disasters like earthquakes, typhoons, and volcanic eruptions. We are in a safe position as it is encased by Sumatra, the Malay Peninsula, and Borneo. So, any typhoon or tsunami would strike those locations first. By the time they reach Singapore, they're tamed tropical depressions or mild tremors with harmless results. Our country is so sheltered from natural disasters that we never imagine such events will affect us. But I don't know about the future. Only frequent haze from July to October caused by bushfires in Indonesia disturbs our daily life. We, however, must learn to face all types of calamities, since we do travel and have business in the quake or tsunami-prone countries.
13. Tom, this will be my last question for you. I often hear the name Temasak. What is its meaning and how is it important?
My friend, Temasek means sea town in Old Javanese, spelled Tumasik. It was the name of an early city on the site of modern Singapore. The name you often hear is probably for a global firm known as Temasek Holdings, or Temasek for short. It's an investment company owned by the government of Singapore. With an international staff of 380 people, it manages a portfolio of about $161 billion, focused mainly in the Asian region. It's an active shareholder and investor in several sectors. For example, financial services, telecommunications and media, technology, transportation, industry, real estate, energy and resources.
14. Tom, thank you very much for a clear picture of Singapore. It's time to say goodbye to you. I must dash off to Malaysia now.
You're most welcome. It's very easy to get to Malaysia. Just cross the border by road. Goodbye. Happy journey.
บทที่
Chapter 10 A Conversation about Malaysia. Situated right in the heart of Southeast Asia, Malaysia is a multi-ethnic, multicultural, and multi-religious nation consisting of Malays, Chinese, Indians, and indigenous people. Predominantly, Muslim country followers of other faiths are allowed to practice their religions freely. In ancient times, Malaysia was an important spice route that allowed merchants from India, China, and other states to trade here. Unlike in the present-day world, in those days, spices were rare and precious as gold. Besides being used in cooking, they were also used as essential ingredients in medicine, perfume, and incense. Thus, they were sought after by the rich and the powerful. Since gaining independence from the United Kingdom in 1957, Malaysia's economic record has been one of the best in Asia, with GDP growing at an average of 6.5% for almost 50 years. It is said that Malaysia is a combination of the modern world and a developing nation. As a founding member of ASEAN in 1967 and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation OIC in 1969, Malaysia plays an important role for betterment of the region. Classified as one of the advanced ASEAN countries, Malaysia is ready to play a greater role in the AEC integration at the end of 2015. This chapter is devoted to a conversation between a visitor and his Malaysian friend, covering general matters such as economy, culture, and tourism.
1. Hello, Yasmin. It's nice meeting you here.
Salamat datang. Hello. It's nice meeting you too.
2. This is my first visit to your country. Can you tell me interesting places to visit here?
Of course. There are many, but I will mention only 3. They are Kuala Lumpur, the capital city and a haven for entertainment and shopping. The tourist spots in the capital include the Petronas Twin Towers, which are an impressive icon of Malaysia, visible from everywhere in the city and dominating the night sky. The Twin Towers are still among the 7 tallest buildings in the world. They were the tallest from 1998 to 2004. Next is Penang. Known as the Pearl of the Orient, Penang offers a unique cultural heritage and scenery. It is a very cosmopolitan city with a multicultural populace and well-preserved heritage buildings, which led to its capital, Georgetown, being listed as a UNESCO World Cultural Heritage Site in 2008. Third and last is Malacca, or in Malay, Melaka, dubbed the Historic State. It is the 3rd smallest Malaysian state after Perlis and Penang, located in the southern part of Malaysia Peninsula. Its historic center was inscribed on the World Heritage List on 7 July 2008, together with Georgetown.
3. All right, just 3 places are more than enough. Now, how can you frankly describe Malaysia to a newcomer like me?
Well, it's hard to say in a few words. Interestingly, the other day I found someone had written in the MalaysiaTravelGuide.com that there are many M words that can be used to describe Malaysia. For example, multicultural, multi-ethnic, multilingual, and magnificent. I agree with him, since in Malaysia you will find a unique blend of religious, cultural activities, traditions, languages, and cuisine. It is a country of diversity and unity where people and different races live together in harmony. The country is magnificent in the sense that its tourism attractions and hospitality services are second to none in the region.
4. That's an interesting explanation. And speaking of cuisine, please take me to taste your national dish. What is your national dish?
Our national dish is known as Nasi Lemak. It is nothing else but fragrant rice cooked with coconut milk and served with fried anchovies, fried peanuts, cucumber slices, slices of boiled egg, and chili pastes. It's eaten throughout the day and may come with a number of extras such as chicken, beef or curry, fried chicken, or dried prawns. I'd also like you to try another popular dish called char kway teow. It's made by frying flat noodles with fish cakes, cockles, and bean sprouts. Other ASEAN countries have their own version, especially in Thailand where it's called pad see ew. You know, Malaysia is also known as the food paradise of the Southeast Asia, as it is a place where you can easily find a wide variety of cuisines to suit your appetite.
5. Let's try both of them then. Being an Islamic state means that almost all Malaysians are Muslims, doesn't it?
Not really, in fact. Even though Islam is Malaysia's state religion, its constitution guarantees freedom of religion. People of other faiths are free to practice their religions. An official report of 2010 said that about 61.3% of Malaysians practice Islam, while 19.8% practice Buddhism, 9.2% Christianity, 6.3% Hinduism, and the rest of the minor religious faiths. Since most of the Malaysian Chinese are Buddhists, you shouldn't be surprised to see many beautiful Buddhist temples in Malaysia.
6. Well, I've heard that Malaysia gives great emphasis on infrastructure development. How has that paid off?
Frankly speaking, Malaysia's persistent drive to develop and upgrade its infrastructure has resulted in making it one of the most developed in Asia. Among Asian countries, the Malaysian telecommunication network is second only to Singapore's. We can say that the transport facilities offered here are on par with the best in the world.
7. What about English competency among the Malaysians? Are Malaysians more fluent than their ASEAN counterparts?
Well, after Singapore's, Malaysia's English skills are better than their ASEAN counterparts. That's because our population are multi-ethnic and often have to use English to communicate. Although the official language of Malaysia is Bahasa Malaysia, English remains an active second language and widely used as a medium of instruction in educational institutions. We speak Malaysian English, also known as Malaysian Standard English, which is derived from British English. Malaysian English is widely used in business along with Manglish, a colloquial form of English with heavy Malay, Chinese, and Tamil influences. An example of Malaysian English is handphone, often abbreviated HP, which means mobile phone or cell phone in British or American English.
8. Oh, I had just learned that. How's the Malaysian economy?
We can say that Malaysia is one of the most developed countries in ASEAN, along with Singapore and Brunei. As one of the ASEAN economic tigers, the Malaysian economy largely depends on manufacturing products such as electrical and electronic products, as well as rubber-based products, with agriculture and mining as supporting sectors. The country is one of the world's largest exporters of palm oil and natural rubber. At the same time, Malaysia is an important oil and natural gas producer as well. Its oil reserves are said to be the third highest in the region after China and India. In 2010, Malaysia was the world's third largest exporter of liquefied natural gas. In recent years, tourism has become a leading revenue earner of the country too.
9. Speaking of the economy, I would like to know about your major export products. Can you name any of them?
Well, I can give you the exact figures, but our major export products are electrical and electronic products, liquefied natural gas, palm oil, which includes crude palm oil, fractionated palm oil, palm kernel oil, olefin and styrene, refined petroleum products and chemical products. Our top 5 export destinations have been Singapore, China, Japan, the United States, and Thailand. You know, a Malaysian automobile manufacturer, Proton, also exports a small number of cars to several countries, for example, the UK, USA, Australia, and ASEAN partners like Singapore, Brunei, and Thailand.
10. I see. You mentioned that tourism is gaining popularity in Malaysia. What are the major causes of this trend?
Well, Malaysia is rich in not only cultural heritage, to which the Petronas Twin Towers have been added, but also natural attractions. You know, one of our best natural attractions is Sarawak on Borneo, known as the land of the hornbills. Sarawak is a Malaysian state that's truly made for an adventure, ecotourism, nature, cultural, or wildlife holiday. In an attempt to make our country's economy less reliant on exports, the Malaysian government has launched vigorous campaigns that have made tourism Malaysia's third largest source of foreign exchange income. In 2011, Malaysia was the 9th most visited country in the world.
11. Now, please tell me about your important festivals or ceremonies. Do you celebrate some of them?
Multicultural and multi-religious as it is, Malaysia observes a number of holidays and festivals throughout the year. Several festivals are observed by particular ethnic or religious groups, and the main holiday of each major group has been declared a public holiday. The most observed national holiday is Hari Merdeka, Independence Day on 31st August. Other notable national holidays are Labor Day, 1st May, and the King's birthday, the first week of June. Since Islam is the state religion, Muslim holidays are prominent. For example, Hari Raya Puasa, also called Hari Raya Aidil Fitri, which marks the end of the fasting month of Ramadan, while Malaysian Chinese celebrate festivals such as Chinese New Year. The Hindus in Malaysia celebrate their elaborate Deepavali or Festival of Lights. Christians, of course, celebrate most of the holidays that their counterparts elsewhere in the world celebrate, such as Christmas and Easter.
12. Jasmine, I'd like to know how I should behave while staying in Malaysia.
Oh, that's easy. While in Malaysia, you should respect local customs and practices the way local people do. Malaysians give due respect to seniors, so the oldest male member of the family is to be greeted first. If you are a man, greet the man first, then the women. Likewise, women usually greet other women first. You should always use the right hand for eating, giving, and receiving objects. The right forefinger is not used to point at places, objects, or persons. Instead, the thumb of the right hand with 4 fingers folded under is the proper usage. Remember to remove your shoes before entering places of worship or private homes. Hitting your fist into a cupped hand is considered obscene, while hands in pockets signify anger. Since the country's large Muslim population does not drink, toasting is not a common practice in Malaysia. Actually, there are many other social and cultural rules, but I don't want to make you confused. Just do what Malaysians do. That's all.
13. Thank you for your kind explanation. Here is my last question for you. Is it true that Malaysian natural gas reserves will last only 33 years and oil reserves last only 19?
That's what people say. Of course, the country's expanding economy will mean an expanded demand for energy too. In response to the negative forecasts, the government is expanding into renewable energy resources. 16% of electricity generation is already hydroelectric, the remaining 84% being thermal. Fortunately, in January of this year, 2013, Petronas announced major new discoveries of oil and gas in our waters. It can be said that the finding of oil and gas is timely when Malaysia's oil and gas reserves and production capacity are dwindling. The latest discoveries should boost the country's oil and gas reserves for many more years of consumption. It is good news, isn't it?
14. Indeed, but I think it's time to say goodbye now. My next destination will be Indonesia. Thank you for your warm hospitality during my stay in this beautiful country. Goodbye.
You're always welcome. Salamat tinggal. Goodbye.
บทที่11
Chapter 11. A Conversation about Indonesia. Dubbed variously as the Sleeping Giant of Southeast Asia, the Sleeping Tiger of Asia, and the Sleeping Economic Giant, Indonesia is the world's largest archipelago with more than 18,000 islands spanning 3 time zones. The 4th most populous country in the world after China, India, and the United States. Above all, Indonesia has the largest Muslim population in the world. With a long record of religious conquest of large areas of the archipelago by Hindus, Buddhists, Muslims, and Christians, Indonesia was a Dutch colony for 3.5 centuries. After World War II, Indonesia, or officially the Republic of Indonesia, secured its independence in August 1945. Since then, the country has been marred by various challenges posed by frequent natural disasters, separatism, and rapid economic change. As a founding member of ASEAN, the Non-Aligned Movement, NAM, and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, Indonesia is always at the forefront of the international political stage. Historically a member of the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC, it quit in 2008 since the country was no longer a net exporter of oil. Indonesia still has extensive natural resources, especially crude oil and natural gas, which are always attractive to investors from around the world. This chapter will be a conversation between a visitor and an Indonesian friend who volunteers to be his guide.
1. Hello, Ahmad. It's nice meeting you again, this time in your own country.
Salamat pagi. Hello. Yes, I remember the first time we met in Thailand while I was on vacation there. How are you?
2. I'm very fine, thank you, Ahmed. What does your country's name mean?
Well, I've read from various sources that Indonesia derives from the Latin and Greek Indus, meaning Indian, and the Greek Nessos, meaning island. Thus, Indonesia means Indian island, as Indonesia was once known as the Indian archipelago. This is all I know.
3. I see. Coming to Indonesia for the first time, I'm very eager to see with my own eyes the meat-eating lizard, the Komodo. Can you tell me more about it?
Yes, of course. The animal is native to my country. The Komodo Dragon, also called the Komodo monitor, is a large species of lizard found on the Indonesia's Komodo and nearby islands. Komodo is the largest lizard in the world and can grow to a maximum length of 3 meters and weigh up to 70 kilograms. The giant lizard can be found on other nearby islands such as Rinca and Padar too. Although the meat-eating reptile eats mostly dead animals, it also uses a stealthy approach to ambush live prey. The giant lizard has shark-like teeth and poisonous venom that can kill a person within a few hours of a bite. Attacks on humans by these exotic animals are rare, but seem to have increased in recent years. Since their food is being poached by humans, the animals are lately hungrier and more aggressive.
4. Oh dear. Well, how can you describe your country to a curious visitor like me?
As you know, Indonesia is the world's largest archipelago, with more than 16,000 inhabited islands scattered along both sides of the equator. The largest are Java, Sumatra, Borneo, shared with Brunei and Malaysia, New Guinea, shared with Papua New Guinea, and Sulawesi. The capital, Jakarta, is on Java and is the nation's largest city. With 1,904,443 square kilometers, Indonesia is the world's 16th largest country. With an area of 1,145 square kilometers, Lake Toba in Sumatra is the largest lake in the country, while the country's largest rivers are in Kalimantan, the Indonesian part of Borneo. They are used as transport links among the island's river settlements. Being along the equator, Indonesia has a tropical climate with two distinct monsoonal seasons, wet and dry. That's everything I know.
5. Thanks for that. Now, please tell me about interesting places to visit. You have many, I'm sure.
Interesting places? Oh yes, we have so many. As I said, Indonesia has several thousand inhabited islands. With such a vast area, the country is home to both cultural and natural wonders that are not easy to find in other parts of the world. I can suggest Borobudur, a Buddhist temple in the Mahayana tradition. It's the largest Buddhist monument in the world. Located on Java, 40 kilometers northwest of Yogyakarta, Borobudur was built around 750 CE and was listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1991. There's also Prambanan, a Hindu temple which is a masterpiece of Hindu culture of the 9th century. Located 18 kilometers east of Yogyakarta, it is one of the largest Hindu temples in Southeast Asia. It too was listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1991. Then go to East Java to see Mount Bromo, an active volcano that sits inside the crater of a bigger volcano. Next, head to Bali, the famed island of the gods, where you will find several attractions such as Kuta Beach and Pura Ulandanu Bratan Temple.
6. Okay, but I'm very hungry now. Let's find something to fill our stomachs next. What would you recommend?
Well, there are many possibilities, so I'll recommend only the most popular ones. First is gado-gado, or Indonesian salad. It consists of boiled vegetables served with a peanut sauce dressing. The next one is satay or satay, which is a dish of seasoned, skewered and grilled meat served with a sauce. Actually, it originated in Java, from where it has become a national dish. Satay is also popular in many other Southeast Asian countries such as Malaysia, Singapore, Brunei and Thailand. Last is soto, or koto, a traditional soup composed mainly of broth, meat and vegetables. All of those are ubiquitous around Indonesia and are considered to be Indonesian national dishes.
7. I would also like to know why Indonesia quit the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, in 2008. Do you have no more oil?
Well, as I was told, the declining crude oil output prevented our meeting the OPEC quota. That reduced Indonesia's influence in the cartel. Indonesia was Asia-Pacific's only OPEC member, but its crude oil output fell in recent years due to aging wells, a lack of investment and, above all, the absence of any major oil finds. Instead, we've become a crude oil importer and domestic production has declined to below 1 million barrels. This was confirmed by our incumbent president, Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono. He even said that Indonesia is now struggling to boost oil production so that the country can become an OPEC member again.
8. To be frank, how is the economic performance of Indonesia?
Indonesia is the largest economy in Southeast Asia and is one of the emerging market economies of the world. In the aftermath of the economic crisis in mid-1997, the government adopted several measures to salvage the economic woes. Since 2004, its economy has recovered and grown at the rate of over 6%. A report by McKinsey Global Institute showed that Indonesia is on track to become the world's 7th largest economy by 2030, putting it ahead of the developed nations of Germany and the UK. The report cited the country's young population, new consumer class, and the rapid urbanization of cities as reasons that will elevate the Indonesian economy up 9 spots from its current place of 16th largest economy globally. Actually, the economy of Indonesia is mainly based on agriculture, as around 90% of the population is engaged in agriculture. Ironically, we still struggle to meet rising food demand from an increasingly affluent population of 240 million. Indonesia is now the world's top importer of raw sugar, Asia's largest buyer of wheat, and it imports about 2 million tons of rice and corn each year. Fortunately, tourism is now emerging as a major foreign exchange earner for the country.
9. Ahmed, can you name some leading export products of Indonesia?
Of course. You know, exports account for around 25% of Indonesia's GDP. Approximately 50% of these exports are commodities such as coal, oil, natural gas, copper, coffee, rubber, cocoa and tea. But our major exports are oil and gas, electrical appliances, plywood, textiles and rubber. Until 2007, Indonesia has been an oil exporter. Our main export partners include Japan, the United States, Singapore, China, South Korea, India and Malaysia respectively.
10. Oh, I almost forgot to ask you about the 2004 tsunami that swept a large part of the globe, especially Indonesia. Do you remember?
Absolutely. I will never forget the mammoth wave swept away some close relatives and buried them somewhere. It is always vivid in my memory. The great quake occurred on Sunday, the 26th of December 2004, with an epicenter off the west coast of Sumatra. Known by the scientific community as the Sumatra Andaman earthquake, it was given various names such as the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, South Asian tsunami, Indonesian tsunami, and even the Boxing Day tsunami. The earthquake triggered a series of devastating tsunamis along the coasts of most land masses bordering the Indian Ocean and killing over 230,000 people in 14 countries. I would say it was one of the deadliest natural disasters in recorded history. Indonesia was the hardest hit country, followed by Sri Lanka, India and Thailand respectively.
11. Oh dear. Now, speaking of the upcoming AEC, do you think Indonesians have sufficient English skills to compete with their ASEAN counterparts?
Definitely. We have to be ready prior to its integration at the end of 2015. Since we only have 2 years left before the AEC comes into force, Indonesia's failure to compete with other countries would result in losing its position in the global market. And speaking of English skills, it was reported that Indonesia ranks third in Southeast Asia in English proficiency, while Singapore and Malaysia are first and second, respectively. You will find that in countries like Malaysia and the Philippines, there is a national language with English as a supporting language in administration and business. In Indonesia, though, English has never been recognized as an official or a second language. So, I think the majority of Indonesians still lack English skills that are essential to their work.
12. Thanks for the answer. Now, what about your important festivals? Can you name some of them?
We have several festivals and public holidays like any other Southeast Asian nation. In Indonesia, the most important national festival is Independence Day, which recalls the 17th of August 1945, while most of the important festivals are related to religions such as Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, and Christianity. I'll list some of the biggest religious festivals in Indonesia. Waisak Day is a Buddhist festival held in May. Galungan is an important festival on Bali. The celebration date depends on the Hindu calendar. Nyepi is the Balinese New Year, which is also based on the Hindu calendar. Then we have Ramadan, which is the month of fasting for Muslims, and Idul Fitri, or the feast after Ramadan. Meanwhile, the Christian community also celebrates Easter and Christmas, just as Christians elsewhere do.
13. Before leaving Indonesia, I can't forget to ask how to behave while staying here.
You know Indonesians value loyalty to family and friends above all else. Generally, a man does not touch a woman in public except to shake hands. Like most ASEAN countries, the head is where the spirit resides and is considered sacred, so you should not touch a person's head here. Feet are considered low and unclean, so keep both of your feet on the floor when sitting. Do not cross your legs. Sitting with good posture and both feet on the floor is a sign of respect. Don't allow the bottoms of your feet to face or point at another person. Avoid prolonged eye contact, as this may be viewed as a challenge and may cause anger. Point at people or things with your thumb, not your index finger, and never beckon with one finger. The left hand is considered unclean. Do not touch food, pass or receive anything, or touch anyone or point with your left hand. I think these basic normal practices are sufficient to newcomers to Indonesia.
14. Now it's time to say goodbye to you, Ahmed. Thanks for your help. We will keep in contact. Goodbye.
Oh, so soon? You are surely most welcome. We will keep in contact. Happy journey. Salamat tinggal. Goodbye.
บทที่ 12
Chapter 12. A conversation about the Philippines. Endowed with many beautiful beaches, the Philippines, or officially the Republic of the Philippines, is popularly known as the Pearl of the Orient Seas. Located on the Pacific Ring of Fire, the country is prone to earthquakes. It also experiences typhoons. But its tropical climate and natural resources enrich the country and make it one of the best areas for biodiversity in the world. With a population of 101.8 million, the Philippines is the 7th most populous Asian country and the 12th in the world. For more than 2 centuries, the country was a Spanish colony, before being ceded to the United States in 1898. After almost half a century, the Philippines gained independence from the United States on July 4th, 1946. Since then, the country has confronted a number of challenges, especially insurgencies and an economic slowdown. By the turn of the 21st century, its economy had steadily improved. The Philippines with its export economy moving away from an agricultural base to electronic products, now ranks as one of the most promising newly industrialized countries in the world. As a founding member of ASEAN, the Philippines has played a crucial role in the development of its ASEAN partners, especially in the field of language. The country sends its English-speaking workforce to several countries. Most Filipinos are fluent in English, so they have better job opportunities than their counterparts from other countries. This chapter will be a conversation between a visitor and his Filipina friend, who will be his guide while touring the country.
1. Hello. Maria, I'm very glad to meet you, my college friend in Australia. How are you?
Kumusta? Hello. I'm very glad meeting you too. Very fine, thank you.
2. Maria, can you tell me the origin of your country's name? Why do people call it the Philippines?
The name is derived from King Philip II of Spain. As a tribute to the Spanish king, our country was given the name Las Islas Filipinas, which meant the islands were the territorial property of the king. In fact, the official name has changed several times. Eventually, during the American period, the name Philippines began to appear, and soon after our independence, the official name became the Republic of the Philippines.
3. Well, it had a long history before becoming what it is today, right? My friend, I am enthusiastic to know about your interesting places. What are they?
Oh, we have so many, but I will mention only some popular places I know. The first one is Tabata Reef National Marine Park, declared a World Heritage Site by UNESCO in December 1993. Another is Fort Santiago, referred to as Intramuros, meaning within the walls. It is one of our most important historical sites since several lives were lost during Spanish rule and World War II. One of our national heroes, Jose Rizal, was imprisoned here before his execution in 1896. The footsteps representing his final walk to the execution site embedded on the ground are on display. During World War II, the fort sustained heavy damage from American and Filipino forces to recapture it from the Japanese. Today, the fort is part of a historical park in Manila. Then, the third one is Banawe Rice Terraces. The 2,000-year-old terraces were carved into the mountains of Ifugao province by ancestors of its indigenous people. They are considered by Filipinos to be the eighth wonder of the world, built mostly by hand, located about 1,500 meters above sea level and covering 10,360 square kilometers of mountainside. The terraces are fed from rainforest by an ancient irrigation system. Then, the last place to visit should be historic Vigan, the best preserved example of a Spanish colonial town in Asia. In 1999, it was declared by UNESCO to be a World Heritage Site. Would you like to see them all?
4. Of course. I'd love to see them all if time permits. But I think we should find something to feed our stomachs first. What would you recommend?
Well, that's easy. First, I'll recommend our national dish, adobo, which is the Filipino favorite. It is typically pork or chicken or a combination of both, slowly cooked in vinegar, cooking oil, crushed garlic, bay leaf, black peppercorns, and soy sauce, and then brown in the oven to give it crisp edges. Next is barbecue. Barbecue on stick is a very popular traditional street food in the Philippines. It is very similar to the Indonesian satay. Barbecue is usually made from chicken or pork, which is then grilled in a slightly sweet sauce on skewers. It is fairly simple to make and is favorite among most Filipinos. I think those two will be enough to make our stomachs full, all right?
5. Thanks for the delicious food. Now I'd like to know about your country folks who travel to work in many parts of the world. Can you tell me something about them?
As you know, Spanish and American influences remain strong in our country, especially in religions and language. Most Filipinos are fluent in English, so they have a good chance to get jobs in other countries. I hope you know we call our men Filipinos and women Filipinas. Those who go abroad to work are called Overseas Filipino Workers, or OFWs. In 2008, about 1.3 million Filipinos were employed as domestic workers, medical professionals, construction workers, maritime workers, and IT experts in countries across the world in Europe, the Middle East, and East Asia. However, many of them are employed in 3D jobs, dirty, difficult, and dangerous, and are often subjected to unfair treatment. Every year, they send home a huge sum of money as remittances to support their families. It was estimated in 2008 that $16.4 billion was sent to the Philippines as remittances, making up 11.4% of the country's GDP. It is a huge sum of money, isn't it?
6. Indeed, it's a huge sum. Before coming here, I heard a lot about small monkeys with big eyes here. Can you tell me something about them?
You mean the Philippine Tarshier, which is one of the smallest known primates. It is smaller than the hand of an adult man, shy and active only when it is looking for food during the night, living on a diet of insects and known among the locals as mamag or mago. The animal can be found on the Philippine islands of Samar, Leyte, Bohol, and Mindanao. In fact, it is not the world's smallest monkey because the pygmy tarsier, also known as the mountain tarsier and found in Indonesia, is considerably smaller than the Philippine tarsier. However, the pygmy mouse, lemur, found only in Madagascar, is now recognized as the smallest primate in the world. I will take you to see the Philippine Tarshier.
7. Really? That's a very good idea. Now I'd like to know why your country is called the doorway for typhoons.
Well, I don't know who called it that first, but you know, the Philippines lies within the Western Pacific Basin, which puts it in the path of an average of 20 typhoons annually. It's called the doorway for typhoons because of the devastation caused here every year. Most casualties from natural disasters here are caused by river floods, flash floods, and coastal floods. In 2011, the Philippines led the world in the occurrence of natural disasters. According to a study conducted by the ASEAN Development Bank, or ADB, about 85.2% of the Philippine economy is prone to natural disasters, and about 83.5 million Filipinos face life-threatening risks from natural disasters.
8. Oh, so bad. What about the economic performance of the Philippines and its primary export products?
I think it is better. The economy of the country is now the 43rd largest in the world. We are very optimistic that the rank will rise to 18th spot by 2017 and the 9th by 2050. Moreover, CNN reported that the Philippine economy grew 7.1% in the last quarter of 2012, the fastest growth in 2 years and the fastest pace in Asia next to China. A strong service sector accelerated growth of the economy, and better than expected agricultural output led to the country to enjoy impressive growth. Meanwhile, the Philippines' primary export commodities include semiconductors and electronic products, transport equipment, garments, copper products, petroleum products, coconut oil, and fruits. The country's exports partners include the US, Japan, Netherlands, Hong Kong, China, Germany, Singapore, and South Korea.
9. That's good news, isn't it? Now let's move on to the important festivals of your country.
Oh, the Philippines has more than a dozen important festivals, and most towns have their own festivals as well. There are 3 festivals that I'd like to tell you about. The first is the Nagyang Festival. It is a religious and cultural festival in Iloilo City, held on the 4th Sunday of January or right after Sinulog in Cebu and Ati-Atihan in Aklan. It is held both to honor the Santo Niño, the child Jesus, and to celebrate the arrival on Panay of Malay settlers. The second one is the Sinulog Festival, which is one of the grandest and the most colorful festivals in the Philippines. It is held each year on the 3rd Sunday of January in Cebu to honor the Santo Niño. Third is the Ati-Atihan Festival, a feast held in honor of the Santo Niño, held annually in the 3rd week of January. During the last 3 days of the week-long festival, a parade is held in Calibo on Panay, Visayas, the Philippines Central Geographical Division. It is the wildest Filipino celebration as the participants paint their body and wear bright costumes while dancing in the streets the way people do in Rio de Janeiro Mardi Gras. I hope you can imagine how exciting it is.
10. Wow, that's great. I noticed on the way in from the airport that there were many large churches. Is religion an important part of your way of life?
Yes, indeed. The Philippines is a very devout country. In fact, about 92% of us are Christians, mostly Roman Catholics, as a result of the historical Spanish influence. Together with Timor-Leste, the Philippines is one of only 2 Asian countries that have a Christian majority. As Catholics, we go to Mass in a church every Sunday, and as well as the festivals I have already mentioned. Easter and Christmas are very important to us. They are times when we especially think about our faith and we celebrate them with great enthusiasm. Of course, there is complete religious freedom, and between 5 and 10% of the population are Muslims living mostly in the south.
11. That's very interesting. Now, I'd like to know more about your culture, especially how to behave while staying here.
Okay, here are some common practices in our country. We generally greet each other with handshakes or a friendly pat on the shoulder. Showing respect is important in our culture, especially to the older persons. Normally, Filipinos will point by puckering their lips at or in the direction of the subject. Standing with your hands on the hips indicates anger or displeasure. You should avoid pointing or wagging a finger at people. Filipinos usually prefer direct eye contact to indirect while conversing. However, staring is considered rude. It is important not to lose face, so you should avoid correcting another person in public. Women are expected not to cross their legs or drink alcohol in public. Finally, it is extremely important to recognize others' position and use their full titles and full names when introducing or referring to people. At first, these practices may seem difficult, but you can easily pick them up in a short time.
12. I hope so. Now, I wonder if all Filipinos are fluent in English. And what do you mean by Taglish?
As you know, the Philippines has 2 official languages, English and Filipino, which is based on Tagalog with words borrowed from other dialects. Since only 55% of the population speak Filipino fluently, English is generally used for educational, governmental, and commercial purposes, and which is widely understood since it is the medium of instruction in educational institutions. Of course, not every Filipino is fluent in English, but the Philippines is the 3rd largest English-speaking group of people in the world, after the United States and the United Kingdom. Since English is widely spoken in the country, it is common to hear Filipinos use a mixture of English and Filipino words or phrases known as Taglish in their everyday conversations. Taglish is nothing but a mixture of English and Tagalog. Some people say it is used because Tagalog words are longer than words in English. Also, there is still a minority who speak Spanish, which had at one time been an official language of the Philippines.
13. That's quite interesting. Is it true that the literacy rate of the Philippines is quite high, about 93.4%?
That's true. You know, the Philippines achieved a literacy rate of 94.9% in 2000, with female literacy rate at 94.8% and male literacy rate at 95.1%. However, about 2.4 million adults still remain illiterate, and the literacy rates are lower in regions like Mindanao, where the rate was 73.5% in 1994, while most other regions were over 90%. At the same time, our Department of Education confirmed that the literacy rate in the Philippines has compared well to other Asian countries over the past 2 years, and the country has succeeded in expanding its education system effectively.
14. That's very good. But the birth rate in the Philippines is alarmingly high, right?
Yes, you're right. The Philippines has one of the highest birth rates in Asia, and its population could double within 3 decades. It's also estimated about 200 births an hour across the country. Successive governments have tried to avoid taking strong measures to curb the birth rate for fear of opposition from the Catholic Church. But after more than 3 decades of bitter opposition from the powerful church, the current administration managed to get a birth control law passed in the Congress of the Philippines on the 17th of January 2013, making the contraceptives more widely available. That will help moderate the nation's rapid population growth, reduce poverty, and bring down our high maternal mortality.
15. That's good news, isn't it? What about the tourism industry here?
In fact, the tourism industry is a major economic contributor to the Philippine economy. Endowed with rich tropical rainforests, mountains, beaches, and coral reefs, the Philippines is one of the most mega-diverse countries in the world. Actually, our tourism industry flourished in 1970 and early 1980s, but declined dramatically in the mid-1980s. The tourism growth of 1987 was slower in the Philippines than in other Southeast Asian countries. Fortunately, from 2000 onwards, the Philippines tourism industry enjoyed impressive growth. In 2011, the Department of Tourism recorded 3.9 million tourists visiting the country, or 11.2% higher than the 3.5 million in 2010. The government expects tourism arrivals to reach 5.5 million in 2013, a million more than the 4.5 million in 2012. Meanwhile, the government has announced plans to boost its tourism infrastructure budget and for training tourism sector manpower as well.
16. Well, Maria, it's time now to say goodbye to you and to all the ASEAN countries I visited. I'm heading home to the U.S. Thank you for everything. Goodbye.
Oh, you're leaving already? Well, have a safe journey. Paalam. Goodbye.
การอัดเสียงได้จบลงเพียงแค่นี้ ขอความสุขสวัสดีและความสำเร็จจงมีแด่นักศึกษาทุกท่าน
Ajahn J. Weiskarper. Bye.
Ajahn Mark Guy. Goodbye.
Ajahn Test Imperial. Bye.